All right, listen up. The weapons of our trade, they change every single year. The delivery systems, they evolve every month. But the battlefield never changes. See, we're not fighting for clicks. We're not fighting for impressions. We are fighting for a piece of territory inside the human mind. And that territory, it has the exact same geography, the same rivers of desire and mountains of fear that it did 100 years ago. So look at this. On the left, a slogan from the Stone Age of mass media. On the right, the buzzword every amateur out there is chasing. You think they're different? You're dead wrong. The Schlitz slogan sold belonging, it sold local pride. The AI promises to know you, to see you as an individual. One's a ticket to a club, the other's a mirror. But they're both just different roads to the exact same place, a fundamental human desire for identity and for recognition.
This, right here, this is the only law that matters. I want you to burn it into your brain. Forget the platforms, forget the algorithm updates. They're just delivery trucks. And you don't market to the truck, do you? No, you market to the person who's anxiously waiting for the delivery. This one single principle is the difference between building an empire and just making a bunch of noise that's forgotten tomorrow. So how do you operate on this unchanging battlefield? Well, forget the 1,000 flimsy tactics you read about online. You need 3 foundational principles. This is what I call the core trinity. This is how you have to learn to think. This is how you win. Everything else, it's just a distraction designed to keep you busy and broke.
Okay, principle 1. We're not in marketing. Let's be clear, we're in psychological warfare. You're not selling a product. You're selling a transformation. You're not selling software. You're selling the end of the fear of being left behind. You're not selling some skin cream. You're selling the hope of being desired. Your job is to find the raw nerve, the unspoken anxiety, or the deep-seated desire and speak directly to it. That's your target.
The luxury strategists, they understood this perfectly. A $1,000 handbag doesn't just hold your keys in your phone. It grants access to a feeling, a status, a dream of a different life. The product is just the ticket. The destination is the idealized version of themselves the customer is trying to become, so you sell the destination, not the ticket.
You think your modern buyer persona is some brilliant new invention? It's not. It's just a dossier, a target profile for the campaign. Back in the 50s, Brial Cream wasn't selling hair cream to men aged 25 to 40. No, they were selling the smart look to men who were terrified of being ordinary. Your persona is just a fancy new name for knowing exactly who you're aiming at and what they secretly want.
Principle 2, offer alchemy. And let me be blunt here. Most marketing doesn't fail because the ad is bad. It fails because the offer is weak. You're out here serving cardboard to a starving crowd and then wondering why they don't eat. You have to engineer an offer so overwhelmingly valuable that your prospect feels like they're practically stealing from you. Now, this is a masterpiece from the past. For a kid in the 1950s, this wasn't some cheap plastic toy. This was everything. And the barrier to entry, it was a box of cereal their mom was probably buying anyway, plus a dime. The perceived value was 1,000 times the cost. It was an offer that was, on a neurological level, impossible for its target audience to refuse. See? Same principle, just a different battlefield. The target isn't a child anymore. It's a business owner who is terrified of being invisible online. And the offer isn't a toy, it's survival. By putting all the risk on the seller, the value proposition becomes absolutely immense. It's the same alchemy. The offer is so good, it makes saying no feel stupid. And here's the third pillar of the Trinity, proof stacking. Trust is never, ever given. It is engineered. You have to think of it like a fortress you build, brick by brick, right inside the mind of your prospect. You stack proof so high that their skepticism just collapses under its own weight. You make belief the path of least resistance. So how do you build this fortress? You write the damn book on your industry. You borrow credibility from others. You show results until they are absolutely undeniable. And you never, ever forget the small arms fire. Joe Girard became the world's greatest car salesman by sending a personal card to every single person he ever sold to. He stacked proof relentlessly. You build the wall from every single angle, both the monumental and the mundane. So that's the Trinity. That is how you think. Now we move to the arsenal. This is how you execute. This is where strategy hits the ground and actually draws blood on the modern battlefield.
First up, channel domination. You know, in the old days, you just bought the entire program. It was the Ford show. You owned the hour. You owned the attention. Today, we call it search dominance or social conquest. Different words, same war. The point is, you're not renting space, you're conquering territory. You own the conversation wherever it's happening.
Next in the arsenal is what I call funnel physics. Now, this isn't about some complex automation sequence. It's about engineering a single moment in time, the precise point where your prospect's pain is at its absolute peak, and then you appear, as if by magic, with the only solution. It's a perfect welcome ambush.
Just consider the brutal simplicity of this. A traffic jam on a scorching hot day. You're trapped. You're hot. You're thirsty. Your pain is acute. And then, suddenly, a guy with a cooler of ice-cold drinks appears at your window. Is he selling? No. He's a savior. That is a perfect conversion point. He identified a captured audience with a desperate need and inserted himself as the immediate solution. Then, of course, you've got the weapons of language. Back then, it was the jingle, right? A simple little rhyme that burrowed into your brain. Tide's promise of cleaner, whiter was a direct hit on a housewife's pride and her fear of social judgment. Today, you might use a 3-part email sequence. First, the gain, then the logic to justify it, and finally, the fear of missing out. The format changed, but the psychological triggers, hope, rationality, anxiety, they're identical. And finally, there's conversion surgery. This is where you examine every single step of the process. The ad, the landing page, the form fields, the checkout button. You treat every moment of hesitation, every single point of friction like it's a tumor, and you cut it out with surgical precision until saying yes becomes the easiest, most natural action in the world for them to take. So you have the strategy, you have the arsenal. What is the final command? Well, there is only one rule you need to live by. I call it the Maverick Mandate.
This is it. This is the mandate. You operate from the position of someone who already knows how the story ends. Because you know what? It always ends the same way. A human being, motivated by fear or by desire, looking for proof, makes a choice. All the noise, all the tech, all the trends, they don't change the ending. And when you know the ending, you can work backward with absolute certainty.
So stop chasing platforms. Stop obsessing over algorithms. They are temporary tools. They will be replaced. The secret to winning, the real secret, is not mastering the tool. The secret is mastering the person who will be reached by that tool. Because the human heart doesn't get a software update. So I'm going to leave you with this, a question that you have to answer for yourself. I want you to look at your strategy, look at your ads, look at your entire business, and ask yourself this. Are you a trend chaser building on sand, or are you a student of human nature building on bedrock? Your answer determines whether you create a legacy or just become a footnote. The choice is yours.